say I'm trying to save this life. So we need those public resources, we need education, we need facilities, public facilities that are accountable to the people to try to help people suffering from addiction, get them back on their feet, and then the follow through, the part that comes afterwards. You can't get somebody through withdrawal and just kick them out and say, well, good luck. You need to have that consistent. If you talk to anybody that's ever been through AA, they say that I'm not a former alcoholic, I'm a recovering alcoholic is the line that they use, because you're never actually finished with that. So those ongoing resources are really important as well, and I think that's an area where we can do better. Now, where I think that we already do really good is that we do have Narcan that we can go out and get and use, and we want. I want to make sure that we expand upon that, teach people how to use Narcan, make it cheaper, so friends, family, and neighbors can have that on hand in case there's ever an emergency in their neighborhood or with somebody close to them. So I do want to thank those who have already come before and made Narcan something that's available, and I think that we should expand it. Another thing that I'm hearing a lot is there's nothing for the kids to do in the city. I've heard this a lot. People say, well, you've got your 10, 12, 13, 15-year-olds, they get summer break and they're out running around, causing problems because they don't have anything to get into. Well, it turns out that there's a lot of things that I've seen, like at Wilkes Villa with the swing sets, the swings that are missing, or with the pool on the south side being closed, that, yeah, there's a lot of things that used to exist for people on the south side to do, for kids to do on the south side that don't exist anymore. I want to get to the bottom of why, we're talking about, for example, $1 million fountain in downtown Elyria that's a decoration, and we can't open the pool on the south side. This is a necessary conversation. And I'll step back for a second and say, the reason that I'm running for office isn't because I want to be a politician. I have the same feeling about the word politician that I imagine you guys have. The fact of the matter is I'm angry, I'm frustrated, and I don't think that, across the board, I don't think that the voices that need to be heard are getting heard. And that's where this issue with the pool comes from. That's a big deal to me because we're spending money in so many places where it could be better spent to help the people of the city. On decorations, on brick inlays of crosswalks. That's a great thing once we take care of the problems. Another thing that I've heard is about the lack of jobs in the city. Yeah, we've lost some major employers over the last several years. Bendix is a great example, thanks. So Bendix reached out to the city and said, we need millennial workers. We want young, STEM-educated workers so that we can sustain the work that we're doing, the innovative work that we're doing. And Elyria is not doing enough to bring in those younger workers. We've lost 7,000 people over the last 20 years, and a lot of those are younger people. They went to the city and said, what are you going to do to help us bring in the type of people that we need to keep our business up and running? And the city said, well, we'll give you a tax abatement, we'll give you tax credits. That's not what they asked for, though. So the city, without being provoked, said, we'll give you free money, and who has to cover that? Regular taxpayers, individual workers have to cover that. What they could have done is said, okay, we're going to invest a little bit more in public transit. We're going to subsidize downtown so a few local entrepreneurs can open shops for the first time and fill up those storefronts. Maybe a wine bar or a local music venue or things like that. Things that would keep people in town. I fail to see how a tax abatement is going to bring millennials to Elyria. So they moved just a few miles east, like Riddell and like others, to an area that does a little bit more to attract younger workers, educated workers. Another part of that is I get asked all the time, well, how are you going to pay for things like better public transit? If we've lost 7,000 people and we've lost 5 or 6 major employers, that means we've also lost their tax revenue. The reason that we can't afford these basic services is because we're bleeding jobs and we're bleeding people. We need to focus on investing in the things that keep people here, that attract people here, that attract businesses here, so that we can collect that tax revenue. I'm not trying to raise anybody's taxes. I'm trying to bring people back so we don't have to worry about that. Another thing that we can do, though, I knocked on a door the other day, and the gentleman answered. He was wearing a Trump hat. And he said, you can talk to my girlfriend. I don't want anything to do with this conversation, because I told him I was a Democrat. And I said, well, listen, here's something I think we can do better. In certain cities, Louisville, Kentucky being one of them, every single expense that the government makes, you can look that up. You can find that on their website. You can hold them accountable. You can have full government transparency. It doesn't cost a lot to do this. Websites are fairly cheap. I mean, it costs a little bit to compile all that data, but I think it's worth the investment to be able to see every penny that's being spent, so we can go to city council and we can go to the mayor and say, why did this cost this much when this is my area of expertise and I know we could have done it cheaper. I think what that does is it takes the very few eyes that are on public expenditures now and expands it to the whole city, so we can all look in and we can all see where we could hold each other accountable, where we could hold elected officials accountable. So I think that we can save money by being more efficient, more transparent, and it's also going to give us more visibility and accountability to our government officials, and I think that makes us all feel a little bit better, like our voices are being heard because we have that information at our fingertips. Another thing, I've heard two different problems get brought up a lot. One is homelessness, and another one is vacant homes. And I don't see these as really two distinct problems. I see them as a fairly obvious, straightforward solution. Utah has done an amazing job with this. New Jersey's done a great job with it. They have taken the homeless population and the vacant homes and combined them together to form a solution. I want to take that one step further. I want to find the vacant homes in our city. I want to find the folks that we can place in those homes and make sure that they're not vacant, make sure that there's not crime happening there, people stealing pipes, things like that, but also that we're sheltering people and giving them that dignity. But I want to go one step further and provide tools and training to fix up those homes, to improve them, to make them better and keep them up and running. I know home ownership is a full-time job sometimes. But with those tools and training, it gives people dignity, it gives them new skills that could be, and these are skilled trades, craftsmanship that can be transferred into work here in the city. That's definitely necessary. Our housing stock is fairly old. A few more people learning how to hang drywall and do pipes and plumbing and stuff like that is only going to be better for us and better for those people. So that's an idea that I have to help eliminate both of those issues. These aren't crazy ideas. They've been done elsewhere, and they've been done with great degrees of success. So I think that when the first person steps up to me, and it will happen, and says, that's just absolutely crazy. Giving homes to homeless people, that's just absolutely crazy. I can point to these successes. We can't call something crazy if it's already been done and it's already worked. So, with all that said, I don't have all the answers. I definitely do not have all the answers. I'm running because I'm frustrated and because I know that we can do better, but a big part of that is going to be feedback from you guys, the residents in the communities all around Elyria, because the reality is I don't have experience living in the Fifth Ward. I have not lived it. I'm coming down here to talk to you to find out what it's like. I think the great thing is that going from ward to ward, we're getting a lot of the same answers, which makes our problems a little bit simpler to solve, but at the same time, we need constant feedback. And as a council person, I want to be the person who's always answering my phone, always responding to emails. There's only a couple of us right now that have a Facebook page at all, but that's the way a lot of people are communicating now. So I want to meet the community where they are. I want to be available on Facebook and Twitter and social media. I want to be the person that's listening. I want, when you're thinking, this is something Elyria could do better, I want you to think, well, I'm going to call Alan and tell him. Because that's how I get better, and that's how the community gets better, is we listen to each other, we have these discussions, and we hold each other accountable. So, with all that said, I don't know if you guys have any questions, but I would love to hear any questions or comments that you have. Not to put you on the spot.
Another question for me is Elyria Police Department. They need some changes, some more training to learn how to deal with people who do have this disease that's going on. And not only judging them by their disease.
Absolutely. So there's obviously not a whole lot I can do about Lorain Police Department specifically, but I think it's it's a cultural thing. And I would consider Lorraine and Elyria one pretty large metro area of 100,000, roughly 110,000 people. I would say that we're one big community when we all think about it. And I think the key to starting that is starting here locally with our police department, which again, I think with Narcan have done a great job already. But there still is that culture within the city that this is a choice, that this is self-destructive behavior. Not that it's an addiction or a disease or something where we can help this person, we can bring them back if we work together. So I think that one of the first things that we need to do is have a partnership between the city government, the city council, the police, and any group that wants to come together and talk about addiction, to hold educational sessions within the community. I think that we need to go out to the communities that are the hardest hit and hold these educational sessions. And I think that when we are talking about locating treatment facilities and things of that nature, that they need to be in the neighborhoods that are the hardest hit. They can be close to home, so it can be easy for somebody to say, well, I'm not taking a big trip to go into treatment. I can stay close to my friends, family, people I love, and so I think that we locate those there. The big key to what you're saying is I think that we need to make sure that the police are a big part of that educational effort, both giving and receiving information. And I would like to see what we can do to get EPD and LPD talking, so that the training and the work and the education that we do together in tandem with the EPD, we can share that information and we can try to expand those efforts out. I would like for Elyria Police to become the department that's best tackling the addiction situation, the addiction crisis that we're having. I would like us to become the city that other cities are going to when they need help on how to fix it. So.
I know we have places for people who suffer and substance abuse, and whatever. We also need a place where people can go together who lost people and
right. Support groups, and I think that when I talked about continuing treatment earlier, once somebody has kicked that habit, there's also another component there, is the people who were unfortunately unable to make it through that. And I was very sorry to hear your story. It's one that I heard more than one time as I was walking around, several times. It's way too often. And when I see, say, the comments on the news articles saying, oh, this was a choice that they made, I realize that we have a long way to go, that we're not giving the friends and family of those folks the respect that they deserve. We're not giving the people who were unable to survive addiction the dignity that they deserve. And I think that we need to do a lot better job of that. I think that we could partner with, say, churches in the city and other local groups. And I don't know who's out there, so I'd have to do a little research.
I can give you a support group.
Excellent.
I'm a social worker.
Yeah, I'd love to know who the groups are that are currently already doing that, so we can get that information out there.
I also know a church that's it's called Beyond the Walls in Elyria on West Weber Road, who within a year or two they're got a building. They're naming it the Creation House for women who struggle with addiction to bring their kids. And then down the line they're gonna do one with men as well.
Creation House?
Yeah, they call me Creation House. The church is called Beyond the Walls.
Gotcha. Lynn, can you write that down? Awesome. Thank you very much. Yeah, we want to partner with them as well and help get the word spread for that. I think one of and not just with the addiction crisis, but across the board, I think one of the biggest problems that we have here in the city is lack of access to information.
We need classes to teach us more about it and how to deal with the situation as well.
Right, and when those exist, we need to make sure the entire community can find out about them. I think that our city website could probably do a lot better job of cataloging where these support groups are, who's holding them, what they're for, and we need a hub somewhere in the community where people can go to find that information.
And maybe we have that at that point go down instead of going up.
Right, we need to combine efforts on those.
How many less can you say when we just had these programs in the beginning?
Right, and even if it's just one, that this is the area where I think that we need to do the hardest work. Consistently, number one across the board, as I'm going around and talking to the community, it's the opioid crisis. And we, like I said, we made small efforts with Narcan. there's so much more we can do. And any investment that we're making in the city right now, that's a topic that we need to be focused on before anything else. Any expense that we think of, or any new project that we think of, we need to think of it in terms of, are we trying to help save lives here?
Also, I think that the people who are still struggling need a place where they can go to speak to someone without feeling judged.
Mm-hmm.
If they feel judged, they're going to continue to stay bad.
Right.
You're not going to want to change if everyone's judging.
Yep, and not be judged, and not not fear prosecution, not fear persecution. Across the board, there needs to be a safe place for people to come together and talk about that. Not just those suffering from addiction, but friends, family.
Everybody struggles with something in life.
Absolutely. So I hope that what we can do is not just create those educational programs and create those public facilities for during and after a transition out of active addiction. But I hope that we can have a way to make sure that information is really, really easy to find, so that somebody in crisis has an easy place to turn to. And I'll talk to you after the event, Kristen, to get some more resources so we can hopefully get those posted on Facebook, and then I can get them over to both of you as well. Thank you.
Can you talk a little bit more about the transparency of the current city council?
I was just going to actually bring that up too.
As far as board meetings and minutes and how you feel about that and what you would like to change?
It's actually a great topic, and I know that it's been coming up lately. It's something I've been talking about for a long time. So when I saw that the conversation in the media was starting to focus on it, I was really, really happy, because right now, if you look around, if you look at Oberlin City Council meetings, if you look at Vermilion's school board meetings, if you look basically all around us, minutes are available online, streaming videos available during and after the meetings. This information is made available and easy for people to access. In Oberlin, it still plays on public access TV. This seems like common sense to me. Civic engagement is something that we're taught a lot about in our senior year of high school. We're taught how important it is to participate in democracy and participate in local and national politics. And then, I go to our city's website right now, and I don't see minutes, I don't see video. I was told that somebody was prevented, unfortunately, from filming their own video at a recent city council meeting. These are things that we really, really need to take seriously. Transparency is extremely important. If you don't have transparency, in my opinion, you don't have democracy. Anything that's happening behind closed doors, or anything where they're trying to make the information hard to access, it's not necessarily true that they are doing anything shady, but it sure gives that appearance. And perception's reality.
I was just going to say, if they're not willing to show what they're doing, then what are they hiding?
Right. And that's that's the perception that they're giving, and
Right.
I think it's important for them to know that. So I hope that they get this message. When we're not being transparent, we're being secretive. That's
Right.
the only other way to put it. If you're being secretive, let's find out why. Let's find out what the concerns are, what the worries are. If it's price, if it's cost, I don't think that's necessarily a valid concern. I usually hear, well, it would cost a lot. A webcam and somebody to copy and paste the minutes onto the website, because they're going on paper somewhere. They have to. Those aren't expensive.
Right, and one other thing that I do know, when I lived in the city of Huron, I used to go to the council meetings there. I used to take pictures of the papers, the minutes and everything, and put them on my Facebook when I first got it. And I even got in trouble in Huron for doing that too.
Yeah, we want that information to be out there as widely as
It's public
possible.
information. Why are constituents not allowed to broadcast what's going on? I mean,
Exactly.
if council meetings are public information, public's welcome, then why can't I not take a picture of what's going on?
Yep, I would agree with that. And I want to look into it and see what the reasons are, but I'm hard pressed to think of a valid reason why we wouldn't be able to do that. And I think that the first thing that I want to do after I get in office is, in business they call it the low-hanging fruit, because it's really easy to get taken care of quickly and cheaply, is I want to make sure that immediately all the minutes are going up on the website,
Right.
all the meeting dates are going up on the website, streaming video is set up. If I start in January, by February we should be able to have video streaming easily of next year. So that gives us a lot more insight. And, you know, I think, again, it would encourage a lot more people to go to the city council meetings and speak up about these things, because they know that people in the community are going to hear it. We can hold each other accountable. If right now, if you go to a city council meeting and you give that statement, there may be 5 or 6 people that hear you, one news reporter, and then the council, and then it's never heard from again. That's not the level of accountability I want.
Well, not everybody can attend council meetings, because one thing that I have learned is that there are a lot of elderly people that are in wheelchairs, walkers, that don't have transportation, that are able to have internet access and sit on their computers at home. So if you're able to live stream it, then they can actually be in their house watching and attending their council meetings.
Right.
You know, I'm trying to think of the elderly people that cannot get out of their house and they don't have transportation and stuff like that.
And not just that, you know, one in 5 adults in the city right now don't have reliable transportation.
Right.
It's not just the elderly. So public transit's another thing that I'm really big on. When I did the first event at Wolfie's a few weeks ago, a gentleman kind of overheard our conversation. And, another Trump voter.
I was just saying, let me guess.
But he called me over and he said, you know, I don't know how I feel about saying this to a Democrat, but I used to take public transit here in Elyria a lot. I could get anywhere for a couple of bucks. And,
Right.
you know, they started minimizing routes and then they continued doing it. Now we just got these 2, you know, silly back and forth routes and I can't get around that way anymore.
Right.
This is not a left or right issue. Public transit's not a left or right issue. It's
It's straightforward down the center.
right. It's public service. Right. So the ability to get to these meetings, yes, I agree. The streaming will help that, but
Right.
even beyond that, I think that public transit needs to be on the table.
Right. You would need to make sure that you have wheelchair-based also.
Yes.
Because I've seen a lot of people actually trying to wheel themselves down the street to go to City Hall, and it's like,
Yep.
wow.
Yeah, we need to make sure that's all taken care of. There is a city, and I can't remember, Alexandria, maybe, Virginia, that is about the same size as Lorraine and Elyria combined, and they have a really, really good public transit system. Being that our transit is a county transit, I still think with the Elyria the transportation center and stuff, there's a lot in the city we can do to encourage this at the county level. But I think that our 2 communities are large enough to work together and form a public transit system that's comprehensive, that's useful, that gets used consistently. You know, and another part of that's education as well, because there's you know, there's a stigma around public transit, which I'll never understand. If you go to Chicago or you go to Minneapolis, you jump on the train or the bus and there's no stigma at all. People are going to work. So we need to overcome that as well. But again, that's another education piece. We are a city that has progressively gotten older as younger people have left. And as new changes take over in younger cities, it's slower to happen in a place like Elyria. Because we're used to kind of the way that things are. We don't have those younger people agitating for that change. So one of the things that I'm going to ask of the 2 of you is that we work together to spread the word.
Okay.
Not just about my campaign,
Right.
but just about these particular topics. And as we learn what's important to people, and as we learn how many people it's important to, I think it's important to get that out there. If you think you're the only one that wants the buses to be running again in the city, you're not even close to it. So it's worth getting out there and raising your voice for.
Right.
So, getting back to the transparency on the website just for a second, I have a colleague that is the head of the Open Data initiative in Louisville, Kentucky, that helps put all that information online, and he has definitely said that he would help me navigate what that looks like. So I think what's really important is that we have resources that we can reach out to where this is already been done successfully. I just wanted to put that out there because we do have other cities we can lean on that have managed to do these things better. And we shouldn't be trying to reinvent the wheel when we can reach out to our colleagues and our sister cities and states that have really grabbed these problems and taken care of them. So and public transit's another one of them. There's cities are the size of Elyria and Lorraine with thriving public transit, and we can look to those for examples and for advice and get these things up and running. But it's going to take a fight.
One of the ideas that I had for the vacant housing that you were talking about
Mhm.
is instead of having paid professionals to do it. I was thinking about getting kids that are going through carpentry class, like at JPS, EHOVE, places like that. Those kids are going to those classes to learn that as a trade.
Right.
So what I was thinking is have them involved in helping to refurbish houses. It would help give them school credits towards graduation of their classes, and it would also be teaching them their trade hands-on instead of just in the school building. That's what my idea. That's been my idea all along.
Kristen, do you know if anything exists like that right now, as far as like apprenticeship type things for high school students?
JBS has it, and there's 2 other places in Cleveland that have it. I know EHOVE and Milan has it, and that's been my thought all along. Instead of having paid professionals do it, I mean, because either way they're going to be making money. You know, the professionals do.
You would just have to get the businesses to buy into it. 'Cause they're
Right.
taking on.
Right.
Because one other aspect of that, when these kids are going into high school for that trade, they're trying to get their mind on a creative aspect, and it would divert them from going to drugs necessarily. So it would make them learn a trade, and they would be getting school credits towards it. They'd be able to graduate with that experience already on hand for when they go to apply
And
for a
start
job.
developing a relationship with this company who might
Right.
possibly want to hire them on.
Straight out of the graduation.
Uh-huh.
That's been my thought ever since I moved to Elyria. I saw these vacant houses, and I already started contacting JBS and everything. They said, well, just let us know. Our kids are, I mean, these kids are grasping at straws trying to find opportunities.
Because my assumption right now is they're doing, you know, work in the classroom maybe
But that's in
sort
the-
of like a slimmed down,
Right,
not
but that's-
practical real life experience.
Right,
out
but
in the field.
that's in the classroom.
It is
That's
very-
within, that's within
It
a
is very
four-wall.
cool, though.
Yeah.
That's within a
Right.
four-wall thing. That's not putting them out in the community to get extra credit, to get their high school courses done.
Exactly.
And
So-
it would prevent them from being on the streets after graduation, you know,
Mhm.
possibly, you know, starting the drug aspect.
And already having that skilled trade.
Yeah.
Yeah, JBS is a really big deal. You know, I've had conversations with folks. You know, we talked about free college last year a lot during the Bernie Sanders campaign, which I obviously agree with. And I had a few folks bring up, well, what about vocational schools? Well, absolutely vocational schools. Again, we've got this older housing stock in Elyria.
Right.
Skilled trades are extremely important around here. So I love this idea, and I really want to look into it because I don't know what it looks like. You know, for these students going through programs for skilled trades, and I don't know what it looks like to, again, like I said, I don't have all the answers.
I went to EHOVE and I studied child education.
Gotcha.
They didn't stick you in just a four-wall room all day for 8 hours. They actually had you go into other places to learn your trade, to learn
Right.
this, to learn that. That's how EHOVE and Milan does it. Now, I don't know how JBS does it. I don't know if you know anybody at JBS or not. But
We can track, I'm sure we can track somebody down. We can reach out and get those conversations started because I think that's a wonderful idea.
And not that I'm trying to, you know, read over your shoulder, but I saw about, she had a question about cleaning up the streets and everything. You know, another thought that I had on that is get the juvenile delinquents in what I call the juvie hall, or whatever you want to call it now, and have them go out, clean the streets, you know, to earn their probation periods and stuff like that.
Mhm.
It'll teach them what they really need to do to get re-involved with the community on a positive aspect.
Right.
You know, I understand that the city workers do get paid to do that, but obviously the city workers can't be everywhere all the time.
Mhm.
And there's so many delinquents in Jubilee Hall that, you know, are dearly trying to figure out, how can I do this? How can I turn my life around? How can I do this on a positive note? You know,
Right.
get the kids out of Jubilee Hall, get them on the streets with people watching them, you know, and everything with supervision. Have them take the trash bags with gloves on, those grabber things, and have them clean up their streets where they live in their community to earn their respect back into their community.
Instead of keeping them in one.
Yeah,
Yeah, I can appreciate that. You know, I think that the key,
it would give them something positive to look forward to when they get out
Right.
behind bars.
and I think that the key both for you know, juveniles and adults that are in the
Right, the adults too.
the system right now in jails and prisons and you know, detention centers is that we need to focus a lot more on rehabilitation, which is what the word is that we
I know, I couldn't
used to
think of
use.
it.
You know, now we use corrections a lot more often.
Which, that's not even a nice word either.
Right. What we're supposed to be doing by sentencing somebody to a jail is we're supposed to be rehabilitating and getting
Right.
them readjusted. It's not supposed to be punishment, and I know that that's an offensive thing to say. It's because some people want to see people punished. I don't know that makes them better when they get back out and have to reintegrate into society. What we need to be looking at is how we can, you know, make people better adjusted to come back out into society and to work.
I mean, you don't want to throw them into the lion's den and say, here you go, the work is done. You need to ease them into it slowly.
Exactly, exactly. So I definitely see what you're saying there. I think there's some work that could be done there. I do think as well that if say, when we talk about issue 6 not hitting the south side as much as it should have, I think if the or at all, yeah. I think that as the city is more equitable in taking care of the roads and the sidewalks, that it will make us all have a little bit more pride in our community and make us all start doing our part to pick things up. I can understand right now, like I said, when I was walking up and down 13th, I couldn't, it was hard to cross the street in my dress shoes because it's just torn up, it's bad. It's not, it barely qualifies as a road. Why is it still left like that? I think that if we start to work on that a little bit more, that we'll have a little bit more pride. And, you know, I do want to see an opportunity for volunteer groups as well.
Yeah.
I know that Adopt a Highway has been a really big deal and has made a lot of our, you know, main highways look better.
Yeah.
I'd love to see something like that in the city as well.
Town, right.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, I'd say that probably even more so, because you have people walking down the sidewalk and littering. There's probably a lot of good answers to that I need to research, but right off the top of my head, just having a little bit more pride because it's better taken care of by the city. And, you know, like you said, you know, we could have kids out there helping with that as well. I think that makes a lot of sense to me. So.
Because statistically, it's proven that if you get kids from JV Hall more involved in their community, like picking up trash or, you know, helping the elderly pick up their yard, mow their yard, you know, shovel snow when it's the winter time, it gives them something mentally positive to think about. Right. They're not getting released out of the JV Hall and going back on the streets, you know, shooting up and, you know, doing anything that's against the law. You need more positiveness for those kids that are in JV Hall instead of, you know, well, they're gone, they're forgotten now.
Right.
They're still
it's that follow up and that.
Yeah, they made a mistake, but they're still human. All humans make mistakes, and and God even says that, you know, you need a second chance.
Right. I agree with you there. Did you have? I know that you might have had a list of questions there.
I didn't overtake you. I am sorry.
You answered the majority of
Oh, excellent. Well, I mean, anytime that you want to reach out, of course, I'm pretty sure I gave you my card as well. Have my phone number on it, so you can obviously call it anytime. Sure.
So many people in my situation, when we go to my dad, we feel that they're forgotten basically since they were babies. Maybe down the line, once we, you know, clear the streets and more places for them to go. Some place where people in my situation can go and feel that,
Well, like we're forgotten, like a survivorship program type
or
thing?
something.
Or a memorial or something
Yeah,
that
but
this
they're
happened.
not.
And, you know, because
Cleveland does that, I think, twice a week.
yeah. Well, I think at the same time, what you might be saying, because this is a crisis that's reached this epic proportions, and we will get better. We will have to work hard to do it, but we will get better. We will learn to help instead of judge, and I think that when that point comes and we start to recover from this crisis that we're all facing, I do think that there needs to be, we need to remember these things. We need to remember what we went through, and we need to remember those people who unfortunately weren't able to come out the other side. And, you know, like a memorial or something to that effect, I think would be a really a powerful thing.
They tell about the negative stuff, not the good things. Even though my dad struggled, whatever he did, he still went to work.
Yeah.
He's a father, he's a grandfather, didn't even mention none of that.
And, you know, that's just part of that that appearance or that judgment that we have of addiction.
There's so many people like me or been through it or is going through it, they just come forward and speak out, maybe they'll be heard.
Right. I completely agree with you.
And that's what I'm saying about, you know, rehabilitation for the adults and the kids. You know, because things like that could get prevented.
Right. Yep. I think that from day one we need to work really, really hard, and I'm hoping that, you know, whether or not I'm fortunate enough to join City Council and be able to work directly on these things, I think that you and I should definitely keep working toward, you know, some accountability towards education, towards prevention, towards rehabilitation after the fact, and towards how we treat friends and families and how we treat the memories of those that we lost.
Yeah,
So
and
I really
you
want to
know,
work
go to
with
council where they can learn, 'cause sometimes when they go through a situation, somebody in their families likely to
Right.
follow the same path.
Right.
Mhm.
Okay,
That's
this person did this, maybe they might get curious. You know?
Mhm. Mhm. And, you know, I think that, Kristen, we've talked about this before, that with people that have lost their lives, that the friends and family that they have
The
around
amount
them.
number of people that it affects around them.
Right.
Right. And
Yeah.
the opioid is not the only thing that's a problem. You know, gun violence is up because of that too.
Mhm.
You know, if you don't give me the right amount of drugs, you're gonna get shot and killed because you shorted me.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know, I've seen that too around here lately.
Mhm.
Hey, you shorted me, and click, click, boom, and it's like,
There's a lot of negative that surrounds addiction.
And the
Yeah.
ages now, are now struggling with this too, not just older people,
Right.
younger kids.
I think that we can. I think that we can make inroads, and I know it's going to take some time. I know it's going to take
it's
some
not a big,
convincing of others.
there's no overnight miracle cure.
Right.
It takes time.
Right. So we're going to have to take this message out to everybody, and make them understand, not just city council, but the communities that are affected the most by it. We need to really come together as a community, because
It's not gonna
there's
take
no other
unless
way to
we
do
come
it.
together.
Right. You're 100%
And
right.
they shouldn't feel judged, worried about anything. Everybody goes through something in life.
Yep. Absolutely. I look forward to seeing what we can do to make this better.
When
There's-
something is not gonna change.
Right. Right. We need the whole community for it.
You know?
I think that we're ready for it. As a city, I think that we're ready for it. I think that as I go around and talk to these folks that have been personally affected, so many people that have been personally affected, I think that we're ready for it. People are
It's past due
tired of
time.
it. Yep,
It's past due. Everyone needs something.
absolutely. So we're going to work together. I promise you that.
I'm willing to help as much as I can.
We got your back, girl.
Let everyone know, you don't have to feel judged with me, that I'm gonna be there every step of the way with you guys.
Yeah.
Great. We're going to make this better.
Thank you.
We're going to remember your dad.
Thank you.
Sorry, I'm moving around a lot. You guys, anything? I know that, well, Chris.
I want to touch base on somebody that I've talked with, before I came here, about the landlords and how Elyria is a big rental area.
Gotcha.
And his problem was these landlords are not helping the families fix up the homes, and they're leaving them how they are. And you go around some of the neighborhoods, and they're just torn down completely. There's eviction notices on them. The gas is turned off on some. Windows are boarded up and everything like that. What can be done about the landlords who have given up on the property?
So, a couple of years ago, I know that the city was trying to do sort of a landlord registration database of all the homes that are rented in the city, who owns them, who's responsible for the upkeep. And I'm not sure what happened with that. What I do know is that I know the project was never completed, and I know that there is not nearly enough enforcement on, keeping up rental homes and apartment complexes and that. And I've seen it myself. Houses that are, left to fall apart, and it's not the tenant's responsibility to, take care of structural issues with homes that are, rental homes that are falling apart. It's something that we need to have a higher level of accountability for. And, I don't know what that looks like. I don't know whether it's, something with zoning or something where there's going to be fines levied, or, at some point I think that we almost need to consider, if somebody's a habitual offender that's not taking care of homes, that's not making an effort to take care of their rental homes, that we need to think about land banks and whether or not the city's going to take it over. There needs to be accountability. We can't have people living in dangerous homes. And we can't have that lack of accountability that allows the houses that eventually become vacant and dilapidated and falling down, and sometimes become infested with rodents, or sometimes they attract crime inside vacant homes. We need to make sure that that's not happening, and I think that the extreme end of it is definitely land banks to take those over and make sure that they're taken care of properly. Anybody else? Sure.
Returning to the topic of public transportation, LC, their newspaper, the Collegian, did an article on like how run down the system is and how it affects the community. And speaking and thinking back to the companies leaving the area, how they want STEM jobs. There's people who can't make it, like the college pointed out how people can't make it to the college, and the effect it has on the community. So, you know, if they fix that, it would bring in revenue down the line, because people would be able to go to the college. It's open for everyone.
That's a big one, too. Lorain County Community College is a commuter college. They have something like, I think, 14,000 parking spots now. That doesn't really help if you don't have if you don't have your own transportation to get there. When people are trying to make a better life for themselves, education is one of the first places that they turn for obvious reasons. If we have anybody that's not able to get a better education and get a better job because they don't have transit to get there, that's a failure on the part of the city, in my opinion. We could do better. And, I don't know if, and I would love to connect with you afterwards, if they talk to anybody at the college itself, as far as administration, about public transit and what they would like to see. But, I'm fairly confident that LCCC themselves could come and have a conversation with City Council, work with us, and potentially add in some funding there as well. I think that they would benefit from it, and I think it would be good to see an investment from them in, Lorain County Transit, and for them to become a transit hub, the hub for that part of town. And again, I don't know if they already have, so if they already have, I would love to hear that, but that's a conversation that needs to happen. So that's a great question. And I do, from any part of Lorain or Elyria, I think that people should be able to reach the college by bus.
I do think LC also opened up a learning center in Lorain and in North Ridgeville, which is awesome because LC is doing their part to try to reach people that maybe can't get to Elyria. But maybe the city can form some type of partnership with the college, since it would be like a mutual benefit.
Right. And that's what I'm thinking. So you said that they've opened in Lorain and North
I believe
Ridgeville?
there's one in Lorain. I know there's one in North Ridgeville.
Because they already exist in North Olmsted.
Yeah, the thing about those is that they don't cover all of the courses.
Yeah, and
Right.
it's limited.
It's just the, your basic classes, like your student development ones or your writing classes.
Right, so definitely a good way to get your foot in the door and get started.
Yeah.
And then once you are moving on to those, classes that have to be at the college for the specialized, equipment and classrooms that they have, the public transit to the college is a very big deal.
You already going.
Got some kids. All right. Anything
Your
else?
future voters.
That's right.
Kids can ask questions too.
Absolutely.
Hey, they're a part of the community too. They have
They are.
voices heard too.
They absolutely do.
So final words, sum it up.
I'm really happy with this. I'm glad that I decided to run because I'm hearing the things that I thought that I would hear. There's things that I know that we can do to fix them. I think at the end of the day, that's really the key for me, is that the problems that I was witnessing are the same problems that you guys are witnessing in the 5th Ward, that were the same as that we're witnessing everywhere else. And what that tells me is we are one community. We can come together. We can tackle these things because we're on the same page. And we know what some of those answers are right off the top of our heads. But again, if I can ask for anything, I need people to come and talk to me and tell me what it is that's ailing them and what their ideas are, to fix those, because I'm trying to be an elected representative. It means I'm trying to represent everybody in the city. That's what the at-large candidates do. Beyond that, it's going to take a lot of work. Incumbents have been kind of ruling Elyria for decades. There's not been a whole lot of challenge to them. And in order to get in, I'm going to need some volunteers. I'm going to need some donations, people to knock on doors, people to put signs out in their front yards, make phone calls, all kinds of really cool, fun stuff. I promise it's cool and fun. But that's the key. That's what it comes down to, is getting my name out there, and then the second that I get in office, starting to work for you guys. So I really appreciate you coming out today. I really appreciate you sharing your story, and I look forward to working with you both. And yeah, thanks everybody for the questions.